I'm at the California Science Center in Los Angeles, California, and I have something cool to show you. And this is it, the Space Shuttle Endeavour. So this orbiter was made in 1991. It flew for the first time in 1992, and it was made of actually spare parts from the other shuttles after the loss of Challenger. So I'll show you around and some of the cool things on this thing. So here's the nose cone, made of reinforced carbon-carbon, and you'll also see that on the leading edges of the wings. And here are some of the orbital maneuvering thrusters, therefore changing the orientation and position of the shuttle once it's in orbit. And there is the hatch, and that's for a crew entry and egress. And then I'll kind of back up a little bit so you can see the cockpit windows. There we go. So those are the windows, and there are, I think, there are several panes of glass, and that's because of the risk of micrometeoroids. And I'll move back over here and cross under the shuttle. You can see the payload bay doors and their hinges. And now I'll show you some of the tiles. The newer ones are darker, and then the older ones are lighter because they've gotten discolored over the years, many re-entries. Some of these tiles, most of them, have actually re-entered the atmosphere all 25 times on all of Endeavour's 25 flights. And they're extremely light. And each one is very, very specific to a certain location on the shuttle. I'll show you the front edge of the wings now. This is, again, reinforced carbon-carbon. And this is something I didn't know before. These doors can retract, and they cover up the attachment points. So you see the attachment point right there. There's a bolt inside that can hold 1 million pounds, and that's the weight of the external tank when it's full. And those are the oxygen lines. No, they're either hydrogen or oxygen. And then on the other side, sorry, these are the oxygen lines, and those are the hydrogen lines. And immediately after the external tank separation, these doors close, and so obviously these lines are protected. And they're not used after that because after separation, the main engines don't fire. Here are the hinges for the control surfaces, and I'll show you those. Look how thick the edges of the control surfaces are. And then here are the engines. So there you see 2 of the 3 Space Shuttle main engines. And there is another set of orbital maneuvering thrusters. So there's all 3 engines, and then the rudder and fin, and there is an orbital maneuvering engine. And those are used for plane changes, for orbital circulation, for changing their orbit, raising and lowering it, and then lowering it a little bit in order to re-enter. And they run on the same fuel that those engines do. They're hypergolic, and they are based on the old service modules engines from Apollo. They're almost exactly the same, because they do essentially the same job. And then over here is what the inside of an engine looks like. So the goal of all of this equipment was to pump high pressure hydrogen and oxygen into the combustion chamber. So there's a computer, there's a turbo pump, and there's another turbo pump on top. And then here's the nozzle. Now, the gas coming out of this was extremely hot, so hydrogen in liquid form and at very, very low cryogenic temperatures was pumped through these pipes around that ring and then into those little tubes, and each tube is about the size of a straw. And you can kind of see more of the tubes there. They cover the entire, they make up the entire bell. And those keep the bell cold because the flame inside is many thousands of degrees Kelvin. No, sorry, degrees Celsius. And the purpose of the turbo pumps is because the pressure inside the nozzle is so high that you have to have higher pressure to squirt the fuel and oxygen into it. And I'll show you the combustion chamber now. It's right inside there.
What you see here?
It looks like a shower head, and that's where liquid oxygen is squirted in. And gaseous hydrogen, it's already flown around the edge of the nozzle, is also injected there. So, I hope you enjoyed it. This is a really cool thing and a really cool place, the Endeavour.